Neptune in the 26th degree of Pisces. And we also have a square to consider because Mars is in the 26th degree of Gemini for a few days. So I focused on both of these degrees today to bring our attention to that resonance. And we find that when we understand 26 Pisces, then we understand 26 Gemini better, and vice versa. And when we have two planets emphasizing those two degrees, as we have right now with this Neptune-Mars square, we can do that much more profoundly. And we see that the essence beauty that we have is actually accessed by noticing the essence beauty in another person. That's how we awaken our own sense of self, by noticing other people. Counterintuitive, but it's actually, when you think deeply, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? If we see beauty in others, then we're going to see it in ourselves. Beauty's something that's subjective, isn't it? It's in the eye of the beholder. So if we train our eye to see beauty out there, we can see it within ourselves, and vice versa. When we see the essence beauty of who we are, then we can notice that that is also true of other people on that deepest level of truth. Neptune in Pisces 26, a new moon that divides its influences, freedom of choice. If we expect to be able to exercise freedom of choice for ourselves, then we must allow the same freedom to others. Therefore, the idea that we may require another person to act, feel, or think the same way that we do is false. There is, of course, despotism in the fields of politics and corporate commerce, and this is very unfortunate, yet the worst issue is at home. Parenting is so very often coercive. It takes a remarkable emotional maturity to allow others to be the way they are and find our adjustment to them. Parents don't really allow that in their children, do they? As fully as the children would allow that in the parent, anyway. Civilization demands conformity, but the soul requires freedom to choose. This is to be considered a teaching in the exercising of free will. And deeper realizations enable us to get clearer about our ultimate motives. So a new moon that divides its influences, Neptune. This is a sense of choosing between this and that. Two options are available. Perhaps on one level, to focus towards God or away from God, towards spirituality or away from spirituality into the material world. Perhaps that's the essential choice. For Neptune, it's very likely to be that way. Neptune is as lost in the glamour of the material world as it is lost in the idealism of spirituality. And I think the balance between the two, the scintillation between maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, maybe that, is possibly the wisest course. These two planets together, Mars and Neptune, you have to sort of think through the symbolism here, because on the one hand you've got Neptune, which is oceanic and tends to kind of shape itself around situations, fluidity, flexibility, non-assertive. And on the other hand you've got Mars, which doesn't do that. It's the military man, the martial man, the self-assertiveness, the muscular power of getting things done, action in the world. So these two don't really have very similar symbolism. They contrast each other very deeply. So a Mars square Neptune, the square brings awareness more than anything else and enables us to have the friction necessary to get the job done. We might experience that as an obstacle, a difficulty, and yet that is a benefit for us. If we don't have those kind of obstacles, then we can't overcome them, and it is the process of overcoming that empowers us. Much is spoken about in astrology about the negativity of a square. It's nonsense. You want squares in your life. If you try and walk along the road which is icy, you can't do it, especially when you're going up a hill. It is the friction in life that enables us. And in astrology, the friction is the hard aspect. The opposition gives you the other point of view. Says, no, don't do it that way, do it this way. The square is saying, unless you do it my way, we've got a problem. And that's exactly what you want if you're going anywhere. So we have Mars saying, look, Neptune, you can't get anything done like that. You're just accommodating everything. You know, that's all very well and good if you're on a spiritual kind of trip. But I want to get things done in the world. I've got a physical body. I've got an agenda in the physical world. I need to get things done. What are you doing trying to stop me with that? So you've got this kind of conversation going on. And Neptune's saying to Mars, look, you can expend all of your muscular energy like a young man would, and you can go off and fight wars. Do you think it makes a difference? It hasn't yet in all of the history of the world. Why do you want to be so aggressive and pushing against the flow of things? And they just don't see eye to eye. And yet this square makes them have another look at that to see if we can see eye to eye. And there has to be some point at which Neptune and Mars in square can form a harmonious approach to a situation. And we have things like the spiritual warrior. So Neptune creates this sense of the spirituality of life. All is connected. And Mars wants to put that idea into the world as a spiritual warrior, fighting for the good, doing good, acting on the impulse of a spiritual kind. All of those kind of things come to mind with the Mars-Neptune square. And you have no meaning really in Mars. Mars isn't looking for meaning. Mars is actually asserting itself, come what may. And it's not trying to work out whether it's a good thing to assert or not. That's not its functionality. Whereas Neptune wants to try to give meaning to everything. That's his fundamental purpose, to try and make sense of that which is nonsense, really. Life moves from this moment to that moment, and the continuity which we understand exists, that's Neptune's gift to us. If there is no past and no future, if time is simply now, and time is an illusion, then there cannot be duration. And without duration, how can there be continuity? Now, if we were living a life where every moment was significantly different from the last one, we couldn't live it. That would be it would be mental, wouldn't it? That would be a psychotic experience where no continuity existed between past and present. And so Neptune helps us deal with that by telling it's illusion, it's lie, it's delusion if you get lost in it, that the past and the future are connected through the present. And we make it up as though that's true, and I don't know whether there's any real scientific evidence for that. It certainly looks that way, doesn't it? I wake up and I'm in the same house that I went to sleep in, and that's very reassuring. But I think on the very deep level of psychology and philosophy, it is Neptune that's given me that sense of life being real. It's not what the mystic thinks, and it's not what the quantum physicist thinks either. The idea of Newtonian physics went out of fashion quite a long time ago. Everything is new in this moment and depends upon our perception. So Neptune sees it like that, and Mars thinks that's nonsense, and I should think quite a few of you thinks that's nonsense. I can't live like that. Well, Mars can. Mars can just carry on with being as bullish, as assertive, as self-oriented as it wants. whether or not that's meaningful on a philosophical level, Mars doesn't care. And so both of them have to change a little bit. And the way in which they change may well be indicated by the study of the winter frost. The winter frost in the woods is the Gemini 26 symbol, the essence of beauty. Beneath all our urges and feelings, which arise out of being incarnated physically, there exists the essential self. This is real in a way that all external expressions are not, and we can only resonate that purest of vibrations when we are pruned of our dressing and naked of glamour. We can then see the most beautiful truth of who we really are. Naked of glamour. Well, Neptune doesn't like that very much, naked of glamour. Glamour is what Neptune is. It's what it does. It's how it makes everything up. It's just glamour. It puts an illusion of things between you and the grim reality of Pluto, that life is constant change and terrifying. And yet to see beauty, the essence of beauty, that requires that the glamour is stripped away. This is profoundly interesting, because mostly beauty is glamour. If you see an image of an ocean and the sunset and the wind on the sea, it's so beautiful. As long as you're a long way away and you're telling yourself lies about what you're looking at, then it's beautiful. But if you actually put yourself closer to the sun, and you burn up, closer to the ocean, and you sort of find yourself at risk of drowning. It's an illusion, beauty. Except when we study this winter frost image. I've seen hoarfrost in a forest in the winter, and it's just like, wow, this is just water on naked trees. The leaves, which make trees beautiful in the summer, they're gone. There's nothing to add to the essence of the shape of the tree. And then water, suddenly frozen, makes it really clear that the tree's shape, its skeletal structure, is much more profoundly beautiful than when it's dressed with leaves. And I think what we're saying here is that this is true of situations as well. Most situations that we live are lived in a lie. Most people are pretending they are what they are not. And we're allowing that pretense to continue because truth is so unpopular. It's penalized. And so nobody actually tells the truth, generally speaking. And we live this glamorous illusion that everything's fine and people really are comfortable with their lives and happy. It's just not true. Very few people are really satisfied with how they are and what they've got. And if they are satisfied, it's because their level of satisfaction is so appallingly low and centered in materiality. In the end, we go back to God, and that is the only satisfaction that's real. And very few people live in the presence of God. So mostly this is a lie. Almost always it's a lie. And Neptune's happy with that. Neptune's gift is that. Neptune's basically saying, look, if I didn't tell these lies to you, you'd be terrified by Pluto. So I'm telling you these lies, and you want me to. Just pretend, if you can't actually face that fact, just pretend. That's Neptune's gift to us. It's very compassionate. It doesn't want us to feel terror. And yet Mars it's not really like that at all. Mars wants to get to the truth of the matter in its echoing resonance with Pluto. Mars is on that side of the equation and will fight for that principle aggressively and really try and uncover the essential aspects of a situation, and it will find essence truth in situations, especially now in Gemini 26. This is the time for profound realizations to occur. Now, these realizations are about who you are. in essence. Not what you're pretending to be, not what you're aspiring to be, not what you'd like to think of yourself as, and how well you fit in with the collective lie of society that this is how we must be because this is what works. Not that one. That's, shall we say, an expedient. That's what makes it all hang together as though it's peaceful. But it's inevitably going to lead to conflict because it's a lie, and lies always lead to conflict. It is truth that resolves things finally, and without truth there can be no peace. Without truth there can be no justice, and without justice there can't be peace. So Mars is the truth teller. Mars wants to cut through all the crap and get to the heart of the matter, the truth of the matter. And if you do this to yourself, then there's a breakthrough of understanding, and that is that it is not the leafage of yourself now, the glamour that you present to the world, your courtesies and your charms and your clothes and your manner of getting what you want through softness. That's an expedient to help you get on in society. But there comes a point when that's not really you anymore, and it's a lot easier to do that when you're older. You're forgiven all manner of bad behaviour when you're older. It's just assumed that you can't do any different and you're eccentric. So you can actually get on with the job of being real. And here we have an opportunity for us to move into that sense of reality. Mars and Neptune. Mars is saying to Neptune, enough of the bullshit. I'm not taking that anymore. And Neptune's saying, if you could take the real truth, I'll disclose it to you. Let's see how much you can take. And so if we do this to ourselves, we actually have an opportunity just to cut through the crap and see, who are we really? What am I saying to people? Is that true? Am I really being honest with myself in my relationships? In my relationships with my family and my lover? Am I really being honest here? And if not, well, why not? What's the game I'm playing here? Why don't I cut through and find out that deep down there is within me and within every situation truth. And truth is beauty, really. The truth of any situation is its beauty, and the beauty of any situation is its truth. Not the beauty which is the glamour of the ocean at sunset. Not that. That's not really true. That's the beauty of an illusion, or the illusion of that beauty. But there is deeper than all of that. The truth, the spiritual truth of who I am, the essence of me, when applied to all of my situations, will create beauty. All of your relationships become honest, and therefore you trust each other, and you start to love each other with a love that is not bubblegum and pink. It's solid. It's based on principle. It's based on reliability and faith. It's a spiritual love. And that's what we're looking at here with Neptune square Mars. The access, just for a few days, to spiritual love. Neptune stays in the 26th degree of Pisces for a few weeks. A time of profound change is upon us, and it comes from the ability that we have to put self aside and experience true self, the cosmic self. The self, which is the lower self, the ego self, is prone to egotism, where we feel more important than other people. But the self, shall we say with a capital S, which is the cosmic self, is no less a part of who we are. We have an earthly ego self to cope with all of the shit that goes on down here on this plane. And yet we have the cosmic self as well, whose job it is just be aware of God. Be aware that everything is connected, that we are one with the one. Those two things, when in alignment, create the profundity of beauty. And it requires Mars to cut away that which is not true in order for us to release that deeper sense of self as an expression of God's beauty.